For decades, the standard historical narrative held that iron technology was brought into the Indian subcontinent from the outside, specifically migrating eastward from West Asia. Recent archaeological excavations tell a different story. Textbooks and academic records are being updated to reflect discoveries at sites in Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, revealing the presence of iron artifacts dating back to around 1200 BCE. The scientific consensus has shifted. The archaeological record now shows that ancient communities in India did not wait for foreign trade to bring them the Iron Age. Instead, they discovered and developed their own iron smelting techniques completely independently. Looking at this timeline, we can map how the technology spread. Instead of a single line of diffusion from West Asia, we see indigenous metalworking entering the local productive systems across several distinct zones of the subcontinent between 1000 and 800 BCE. India was a proactive pioneer in metallurgy. The tools and techniques developed in these early localized furnaces would go on to shape the demographic and political boundaries of the entire region. Before iron, the Harappan civilization built massive, carefully planned urban centers using copper and bronze. Copper worked perfectly in the dry plains of the Indus Valley, but as populations looked eastward, they hit a geographic wall. Copper is a relatively soft metal, making it practically useless for clearing the dense, monsoon-fed timber forests of the Ganges Plain. During the early phase of iron, roughly 1500 to 1000 BCE, the new metal slowly appeared alongside copper. It was difficult to produce and largely restricted to a few specialized tools and weapons. We can track this early phase through distinct regional cultures. In the north, nomadic Vedic communities, identified by their ash-colored painted grayware pottery, slowly pushed eastward using early iron implements. Down in the south, a totally different society emerged. The megalithic builders, known for marking graves with massive stone circles, buried their dead alongside black and red pottery and early iron weapons. Throughout this early phase, iron was a fragmented, local phenomenon. It was a useful asset for regional communities, but it was not yet capable of building empires. That changes during the middle phase, between 1000 and 600 BCE. Iron production scales up, and the metal becomes a highly effective ecological tool. The first major technological application of this era was the heavy iron axe. Unlike a brittle copper blade that would blunt against hardwood, a forged iron axe could bite deeply into massive, ancient timber. While these communities also used controlled fires, the durability of iron tools allowed for systematic, large-scale land clearance. The map shows the result: a steady migration eastward, straight into the heart of the Gangetic Plains. By cutting down the forest wall, the people of the subcontinent physically redrew the boundaries of their civilization, opening up millions of acres of rich, untouched soil. With the land cleared, they deployed the second vital tool of the age, the iron-tipped plowshare. The Ganges Plain is incredibly fertile, but the soil is heavy and dense. A wooden or copper plow merely scratches the surface. An iron plowshare cuts deep into the earth, churning the river-fed soil and dramatically increasing its yield. Deep tillage created a massive agricultural surplus. For the first time in centuries, society was producing far more food than it needed to survive. This flowchart illustrates the economic reaction to that surplus. When an entire population doesn't have to spend its days farming, society divides. The extra food sustains new specialized classes: craftsmen, merchants, and full-time standing armies. All of this new economic activity generates enormous wealth, which filters upward into state revenues. With full coffers, rulers could build complex administrative structures to manage their growing territories. The iron plow grew the food that fed a highly specialized, stratified society. It provided the exact economic conditions required to build a state. Around 600 BCE, this booming agriculture-backed population triggered the second urbanization. Massive cities returned to the Indian subcontinent. We see the wealth of these new urbanites in the record through northern black polished ware. This well-fired, glossy, deluxe pottery signaled the rise of a powerful, wealthy merchant class with a taste for luxury goods. This rapid socio-economic shift challenged old traditions. The bustling urban environment became the perfect incubator for entirely new intellectual and religious movements, most notably Buddhism and Jainism. Distinct types of cities emerged across the landscape. Some, like Rajagriha, served as political and administrative centers. Ujjain grew as a hub for trade and commerce, while places like Vaishali developed into holy centers. These urban hubs were deeply connected. Goods, raw materials, and new philosophies traveled freely along the riverways, linking the subcontinent together. In the late phase, iron shifted from a farming tool to a weapon of statecraft, heavily monopolized by regional kings. Looking at the political map, the kingdom of Magadha held a massive strategic advantage, absolute control over the incredibly rich iron ore deposits in South Bihar. Access to near-infinite iron meant Magadha could equip its expanding standing army with superior weapons, while simultaneously maximizing its agricultural output. They systematically absorbed competing regional states. This localized dominance compounded over decades. Magadha's control over iron and agriculture paved the way for Chandragupta and Ashoka, culminating in the vast Mauryan Empire. Ancient Indians didn't borrow iron technology, they mastered it. They hacked through the Gangetic forests, cultivated an agricultural surplus, ignited the second urbanization,